Nowadays there are all sorts of events we like to get together for. These might be small gatherings like birthdays, funerals, weddings and Christmases, or they might be larger things like football matches, music concerts, royal weddings or competitions. In 2012, many thousands of people came from all across the world to see the Olympic Games in London. In prehistory, people weren't any different. And we're here at a place called Bagendon to see how people got together thousands of years ago. All we can see now are lumps and bumps in the ground, but 2,000 years ago it looked very different. And we're going to meet some archaeologists to explain just how different. Let's go find them. Okay, so this is Dr. Tom Moore from Durham University. He's the man in charge of the project here. So Tom, what is Bagendon?
Bagendon is this massive set of earthworks dating to the very end of the Iron Age. It's kilometres worth of earthworks, a huge investment in time and people to create this huge, enormous site. And here we're just digging one small part of it, perhaps the earliest part of this huge complex that we have.
Okay, so you said late Iron Age. How old is that? How long ago?
Late Iron Age is the early 1st century AD, so about AD 40 is when we're talking about, just before the Romans arrive. So
okay.
These major changes in Britain just before the Romans emerge and take this as part of the Roman province.
Okay, and so what are people doing in all these earthworks?
There's a big question for archaeologists what people are doing, because a lot of, despite the huge scale of these sites, they don't seem to be living here all the time. So we have lots of activity over there where we've got coin minting, we've got metalworking, we've got probably evidence of seasonal markets. So probably people are coming here at certain times of year, perhaps doing things like feasting, doing activities like making things, markets, trading stuff, and then going away again. And what we've got here in the earliest phase is perhaps the earliest part of that process happening. Here we think what we've got is animals being brought up here at certain times of year. They're killing some of those animals and eating them, dividing them up, and at the same time they're probably having feasts here.
Okay, and so where are people coming from around to have these feasts?
We know there are lots of other settlements around about here, small settlements with houses in, pits where they store their foodstuffs. That's the opposite of what we have here. So we know people are living in settlements all around here, and then they're coming here to a more empty part of the landscape where they're not actually living here. All they're doing is killing the animals and then eating them.
So it's a big party?
It is basically a big party that you have periodically, and you might do other things. You know, you might have weddings at the same time, you might exchange things at the same time, as well as having this feast. So a lot of these communities around here are going to be relatively isolated from each other. They don't see each other every day, they don't live in a town, so they need a place where they can come and get together and do those kind of things that we take for granted that we might do in a town or something.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What archaeologists have found here is an enclosure. You can see the entrance, which is a gap in a ditch. There and there we can see the ends of this ditch, and between them you'd be able to go into this area where you have your fires and people would be together talking, eating, maybe even singing, who knows. Here's a picture to show exactly where it is. This is the enclosure, and we can see that inside it, here and here, are two fire pits. Well, this looks interesting. Harriet, what's in this hole?
So we think this is an Iron Age cooking pit. Basically you can see here that this is blue limestone, it's been burnt, and they would have lined the pit with this, and then you can see the ash here, so they basically would have had the meat inside the pit, cooking it for things like feasts and things like that.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah. So was it just a big fire on the ground?
Yeah, basically they would have dug into the ground, and these stones here would have lined the pit, and they would have had sort of meat in it, and they would have sort of covered it over to keep the temperature constant.
Okay, right. This is a plan of the trench at the moment here. You can see these are the cooking pits where all that meat would have been cooked for the feasts. And all the other features you can see there, but that's only one little bit of the site. We can see from this one, that is only a tiny bit up here. And we're next going to have a look down here to see what else we can find on this place where people came together. Okay, so we've come down. The site was just over there on that other hill. Up here, that's where it was. Now we've come down to here, and this is where we're trying to find what else is going on in this site, how far it goes. Sam.
Yep.
Sam's been doing the surveying here, and this is, what, have you found anything extra?
Yeah, we have actually some really interesting stuff. So we found like a sort of long sort of ditch thing running down this side, and then we're sort of standing on another ditch that sort of runs along in the other field, but there's sort of a gap in this sort of long ditch where they may have moved animals through and things, like you can see sheep in the back and stuff, so they're moving sheep and things through.
Okay.
There's some sort of holes and things around it. It's really interesting.
Okay, so is this kind of being used for gatherings and things like that?
Could be, yeah. Because I mean, if you have an entranceway, obviously people are going to move through it, and people are going to walk through it and things, and then also all the animals are going to walk through it. So this could be a really good area for gathering together and
excellent
stuff like that.
Okay, Sam. So this is the entranceway you're talking about.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and this is the entranceway where people will come and move and gather, and then there's this sort of ditch here, and this here is like a modern pipeline, so it's like water comes and stuff. But there's another ditch here, and there's loads of small little circles that may have been where people were digging holes and stuff.
Okay. Okay, so now we've got a chance to put ourselves in the shoes of the Iron Age people. You've got to imagine yourself in a big group with your animals, so that's sheep, maybe cows or pigs, and we're moving them up this track. You can see the bank on this side, and there's a bit of a one on this side. 2,000 years ago they would have been much bigger, much more impressive, and so let's go. This is only a small part of the trackway. After all, it goes all the way up to the dig site at the top of the hill. But it does give us the idea of what it might have been like in those days to walk in a big group of people in this enclosed space. And it shows us that movement through the landscape is important to people in prehistory.